Eco continues to grow in popularity and gets regular game updates. But should you buy this game? Games are not always what they seem. You often have to play a game for a while and go through the ups and downs of new game excitement, disappointment, discovery of strategies, discovery of flaws, and experience the replayability before you can really get a full perspective on a game. I'm going to give an honest evaluation of the game's current state, its potential future, and tell you the straight scoop about what to expect with Eco before you buy. So Eco, by its name, could either mean ecology or economy. But the marketing and general grounding of the game promotes the former, ecology. So I'm going to talk about that first. I think a lot of people get interested in this game because they're expecting a kind of ecological simulator, something that focuses on a fairly in-depth experience that balances growing a civilization while not destroying the ecology. There is an aspect of pollution that can damage or destroy crops and trees, increase CO2 levels that turn into a rise in sea level, and in turn pollutes land with invasive saltwater. So it is present, and a farm planted right next to an active oil refinery is certainly going to suffer. But overall, the current game's mechanics that are centered around ecological balance are very weak. In fact, on a server with default settings, you'll be pretty hard-pressed to create enough pollution to actually cause your planet to become dysfunctional. This has been pretty disappointing for folks, so it's worth noting that it currently won't be a major part of your game experience. But there's other great aspects of the game, and more ecological challenges are planned by the devs. I mentioned that the Eco name could stand for economy, and in this aspect, the game has great opportunities. I've never played a game with quite this much variable dynamic in a game's economics. What makes it so variable is that it's a player-run economy. Now, before you immediately turn away because you've had horrible experiences with player-driven economies, let me explain more. Your experience can either be very good or very bad in Eco. Unfortunately, 90% of your server experiences will probably end up badly, and you're going to have to spend a fair bit of time searching around for a server that fits your playstyle. I do have a video that talks just about finding the right server for you, but when you do find a good server that not only has good economic policy, but good economic culture in its community, the economy aspect can be very exciting and stimulating, and has both opportunities and competition, price wars and negotiation, with peace and drama. In fact, it winds up becoming the cornerstone for a major part of your gameplay. Like I said, it's hard to find a good server, but my advice is to not give up and keep searching. Bad servers usually die off within a week or two as players leave, so fortunately you don't have to invest too much of your time to know if you're on a good one or a bad one. The other small bit of terminology associated with Eco is that it's often referred to as eco-survival. Compared to other games tagged as survival, you'll find very little of the typical survival mechanics in Eco. On the character level, you only have to eat, and that isn't to stay alive, it's just to provide you calories so you can perform work in the game. If you run out of calories, there's no consequences, no health degradation, no death, nothing. It only means you can't perform certain tasks until you get some food. Even the wild animals in the game that can attack you, like alligators and wolves, don't damage you in any way. They just take away a small bit of your calories. So there's really not a personal survival aspect. On a global level, there is a kind of world survival to not destroy the planet from pollution. But like I described earlier, it doesn't seem to be a major threat in the game's current state of development. The game developers have posted plans about increasing the ecological survival mechanics to make that a bigger part of the challenge, but right now, it's more of a minor threat. I will say that each server can vary, and administrators can change the game's default configuration settings to create more challenging environmental gameplay. But by default, the challenge is minimal, in my opinion. This game is a builder-crafter game as well, and does aspects of that particularly good. But let's break that down a little. First, the crafting. Like other games, your character can earn skill points to learn new abilities that allow them to craft and create different and better things. But the game isn't engineered around being able to be completely self-sufficient and create everything you want or need all by yourself. The game divides crafting skills out in a way that encourages people to work cooperatively with other players, which leads a full circle back to that economic aspect I talked about earlier. The amount of collaboration, again, also varies from server to server. So if you're wanting self-sufficiency or full collaboration, you just need to hunt around a while to find a server that provides what you're looking for. The crafting itself, though, is pretty good, as recipes get increasingly complicated and rely on both earlier materials and later game materials. Building-wise, there's a pretty wide array of building materials that are mostly centered around buildings and their decorations. There's a reasonable array of building materials, textures, and building forms, and pulls from a pretty wide array of base materials like rock, wood, steel, and plastic. Building might be one of the most satisfying things about the game, and creating epic builds is one of the game's goals. Not because you have to, but because you can. So far, this game may not sound all that great, but it does have something I haven't seen anywhere else in other games, at least not to this extent. The game has a full government system, with election processes for leaders, laws that establish both the economic and cultural actions of the server, and is incredibly robust to create a pretty wide array of governing laws. Furthermore, the laws are created by the players. The open sandbox nature of the game is pretty open by default, but it's these laws that give each server a unique structure, and often separate one server from the next. It's hard to pack into this video the extent of the government aspect with demographics, titles, currency creation, land claims, and real estate sales, districts, contracts, and all of it is nicely integrated together with other game aspects. It's extensive and detailed. What's also good, but not really unique, is that it's a full voxel world. So terraforming, excavating, dumping enough dirt to make your own island, creating underground cities like the Dwarven Mines of Moria are all possible and within reasonable reach of every player.
It is possible.
The open ability to build and mold the world, and trying to accomplish that while working through the uncertainty of a player-driven economy, is a big part of this game's draw and challenge. I can't quite lay my finger on it, but there's something about this game that has an addictive factor to it. It seems like as soon as you think you're settled, a new idea and goal pops up that leads you to want to do more. I know a lot of people that will play this game for a few months, put it aside, but a few months later start getting what they describe as an itch to play again. The variability that can happen with each playthrough of the game gives the game a lot of replayability. And when we're talking about value to the dollar, the replayable nature is a big factor. At $30 when not on sale, it's not the cheapest game out there, but I've gotten a ton of hours of gameplay, enjoyment, and frustration out of the game. I can't say it was not money well spent. But you don't have to pay that much because you can get your own free copy of Eco during this month's giveaway. To enter, just enter the key phrase Earth Videos in the comments of this video and any other video I produce during the month of October for a chance to win. I'll do a random drawing at the end of the month and announce the winner in a subsequent video. The game is fun, there's no doubt, but people often come in with an expectation of the game's primary focus and gameplay that can be a bit absent in the current game. The developers are continually pushing out updates, and without a DLC model, so a lot more is to come. I hope you enjoyed this honest review of Eco and what you should know before you buy. Take care, and I'll be talking to you later.